You're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. Now that the United States is striking ISIS in Iraq, a lot of people are asking, is this strategy going to work? Moments ago, we learned that U.S. airstrikes in northeastern Mosul killed at least 16 ISIS militants. This is just what we're getting now from health and civil defense officials there in Iraq. Earlier today, we saw the president who said this problem in Iraq will not likely be solved within a matter of weeks. But he also reiterated that no U.S. combat troops will join the fight. It's a cautious policy that has definitely come under fire from some Republicans, as well as foreign policy and military experts, and some Democrats as well. And it's not the first time the administration has been criticized for lacking a strategic vision for countering ISIS. Joining me to discuss, CNN military analyst Colonel Rick Francona, with me here in New York, and in Orlando, retired Army Lieutenant General and former Commanding General for U.S. Army Europe and 7th Army, Mark Hertling. So, gentlemen, welcome. Colonel Francona, we'll get to you, General, in just a minute, but Colonel, first you sitting with me. When we talk about strategy, and we cannot crawl into President Barack Obama's head, but when you heard him this morning, and we know thus far what the U.S. military has done as far as targeted airstrikes on specific, targets within ISIS in Iraq, what do you think he's doing?
Well, he's being very cautious. He's initially putting the air where he believes he needs it, and that's to defend Erbil, and that's where we've got a U.S. consulate, and that's where the Joint Operations Center with the Iraqi military is, so we've got some of the advisors up there. And he's given authorization to defend that, and that's what he's doing first. However, if he's trying to blunt the ISIS offensive, that won't do it. What I think we need to do is stop ISIS where they are, to give the Iraqis time to get their defenses together, because the Iraqi army right now is not capable of conducting operations against ISIS.
Nor are the Kurds.
Well, the Kurds are capable man for man, but they're outgunned and outmatched right now.
General, to you, just on the point of the president's strategy, I just want to hear your take too. And also, I think part of how you're seeing this is the president trying to get the Iraqis involved, right? The U.S. will only do so much. It's leveraging assistance from the Iraqis.
That's a great word to use, Brooke, leveraging. That's exactly what he's doing. He's using some influence to try and say, hey, we are not going to do this for you. We've done too much for you already. You've got to step up and do some things on your own. I think it's also interesting, I'll point out, too, the Central Command commander, General Lloyd Austin, it used to be the final commander in Iraq before we left that area. So General Austin knows Mr. Maliki very well. And I think the president's strategy is actually a very good one. He's coming under a lot of pressure from our Congress, but I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He's leveraging the opportunity to push the Iraqi parliament and the Iraqi government to do the right things and to eliminate the sectarianism which has been so prevalent over the last several years.
So he's using it as leverage, but Colonel, to your point, you don't necessarily think Iraqis will respond the way President Obama hopes they will.
I think they will in time, but the problem is time is not on our side right now. As you watch ISIS roll down the Tigris Valley, you see them out there in the Euphrates Valley today. They were going after the Haditha Dam. They've already got the Mosul Dam. I hope the strategy works. I just wonder if we're facing a clock here that's ticking quite quickly.
Well, a lot of people pointing out, criticizing the president, saying the clock was ticking a heck of a long time ago. And General, on that point, I mean, a lot of people are questioning why now, why not before? A lot of people have been slaughtered in months previous. Fallujah fell back in January. So do you think the president would have acted this aggressively if a humanitarian disaster, his were genocide, the slaughtering of one specific group of people, in this case the Yazidis, had not been happening?
Well, I don't think he would have. But certainly, again, Brooke, about a month ago, you remember, we sent a lot of advisors in to do the initial observation and the assessment. That gave him the opportunity to finally get to this decide piece of what Rick knows as the OODA loop, the observe, assess, decide, and then act. Well, I think the decide piece was pushed forward by the fact of the humanitarian crisis with the Yazidis, and he had to act very quickly, probably not on his timetable. But going back to what you just said about the time, there's an interesting expression that my Iraqi brothers used to tell me all the time, which was, hey, you all have the watch, but we have the time. And,
what do you mean by
think
that?
Well, what they were basically saying, we would always say, hey, it's time to get moving. You really have to do something. They would give us the inshallah, God willing, we'll do it tomorrow. And they would remind us that they were centuries old. Well, I think the president is pushing them to act now. He's saying, okay, you may have the time, but you don't have a whole lot more time now with ISIS bearing down your throat, so you better get moving. And I think that pressure tactics may work. It won't be quick, though, as the president said right before he boarded his helicopter today.
What do you think?
I hope we have the time. I mean, the general makes a great point, and you know, we always talk about time and space. I just hope that we can give the Iraqi army time and space they need. Now, we saw the Iraqi pilots up there with the Yazidis. They're, you know, gutsy moves up there.
Making rescues?
So they are involved. Let's just see if they can get it together in time before we have to put even more air power into this.
Just seems to me from what I've read this morning that, you know, the Kurds, and talking to Ivan Watson, our correspondent in Erbil, a lot of the Kurds are saying this is great. We need this so desperately, but a lot of Iraqis, at least closer to the capital, you know, have been saying this is definitely too late. And then they're also pointing out, you know, Mr. President, is this more about your interests in Iraq, or is this really about us, General?
Well, I think the fact that this could happen in the Kurdish region, and in fact it happened first in Erbil versus Baghdad, I actually think that's to our advantage. The Kurds are an overlooked population. They're an overlooked sect within Iraq. And they are a very strong and very patriotic element within the country. Very nationalistic, and I think their fighters and their army are very strong, and they do provide very good security for the Kurdish region. So I think it was actually serendipitous that our first action was outside of Erbil. And it's proving, hey, we will help, but you've got to do some things on your own, too. And I think this blunting of ISIS outside of Erbil will make for a good initial start to the strategy to allow the Kurdish army, the Peshmerga, to get resupplied and go after ISIS. And I think they will do that. And they'll also be looking forward toward going out and opening up that potential corridor to Mount Sinjar.
20-second button. I see you. See you wanting to jump in.
I've been reading some of the Iraqi army press, and a lot of them are saying, why did it take a threat to the Kurds for you to get involved?
That's exactly what I'm saying as well. Colonel and General, we thank you both, and we'll be talking on TV, I know, in the future very shortly. I appreciate both of you. Before last week, many of us had never heard of the Yazidis, and today we are all worried about their fate. So in a moment, I'll talk with a guest about how they're surviving on that mountain in Iraq.